I couldn't believe what I was reading. Even though I had been sweating from the thickness in the air, a sudden rush of goosebumps came over me. I immediately showed it to Adam, flipping to the pages of devils and evil faces, and then I read it out loud, just to see if it was the same the second time around. After I finished, he said, "Well, this just got a whole lot weirder," as he nodded to whatever he was holding in his hands. While I was reading the notebook, he had continued riffling through the mountains of papers. One stack not only had more printed pictures of dolls, but now they contained pictures of real women in torture bondage. Ball gags or electrical tape placed over their mouths, jumper cables twisting their nipples, being hog-tied with rope. Sometimes there was more than one woman in the picture. It felt as if a brick had been tossed into my stomach. For some, those images wouldn't be disturbing, but in the context of our visit, my panic was starting to grow. I was torn between wanting to find out more and getting the fuck out. Adam reassured me that while it was on the creepy side, it wasn't anything to necessarily lose my shit over, since the woman didn't seem to be suffering or bleeding. The burned out living area was separated from the rest of the house by a staircase. The staircase had a room directly across from it and a small hallway on the other side that led to the main room at the front of the house. We debated on going up to the second floor, but decided against it since it already felt like we were roasting in an oven. We were also unsure of the stability of the second floor. Going into the room across the staircase, we noticed a few more doll magazines on the floor, but not near the number as the other rooms held. There were scattered plastic doll pieces here and there, random arms and heads. To the left was the original fireplace with a couple tiny vases on the mantel. Smack dab in the middle was a framed picture of an elderly couple, smiling and happy. These certainly weren't the type of people that would have pictures of women bound and gagged hidden away in their bathroom. These people could have been my grandparents, I thought to myself. To the right was a big bay window, and smack dab in the middle was a yellow piece of paper with faded black. There was also printed handwriting on it. It was for anyone on the outside of the house to see, before it became overgrown with bushes, of course. Reading it backwards from inside, it said, "If you're here to talk about Jesus, go away." "That's kind of hilarious," Adam said after reading it for himself. "Yeah, I guess it kind of is," I half chuckled, but something in my brain was now starting to nag me even more. Something wasn't computing correctly for me. Thinking back, my mind was putting together that an elderly couple in this town would more than likely be pretty religious. And by the super small chance that they weren't, it would have been gossiped about had someone seen that in the window. It was as if the house held two very different personalities within. I told my husband that I just wanted to go into the one last room down the little hallway, and then I would be very ready to leave. Going down the small hallway, it became darker and cooler. It was a relief from the oppressive heat that we had been dealing with since first stepping inside. The shade from the giant tree in the front yard had blocked out a lot of the sunlight, making it about 20 degrees cooler. But we soon realized that that wasn't the only reason this part of the house temperature was much more tolerable. Rounding the corner into the last room, it took a few seconds for our eyes to adjust to the difference in the light, but the change of the air was noticeable immediately. It was as if we stepped into a cave. The smell was dank and left a dampness on our skin. Once things came into clear focus, that's when we saw it. The main reason our senses had shifted so quickly, the large hole in the floor. At first we thought that perhaps the wooden floor was so weak that it had simply caved in on its own, or that the roof had leaked and caused this exact area of floor to rot away, but upon getting closer, it became obvious this wasn't the case. The hole was about 5 feet across and went straight down into the earth, with about 2 feet of space between the remaining floor and dirt. This hole was there because it was made to be there. My husband and I looked at each other. My heart was racing so fast that I thought it would burst out through my chest. I said out loud to him while pointing, "What the fuck is this? Why is this here?" I panicked. My breathing became more rapid and shallow. Nothing was making sense, and yet the thoughts that had been running in the background of my brain were all coming together like a jigsaw puzzle. Then we saw them. The worn and faded social security cards, a few old and molded, over driver's licenses just thrown around. There were checkbooks, credit cards, as if someone had emptied their purse or wallet in this room and then just disappeared into the hole. I was overcome with fear and dread. I had to get out of this house. My skin felt like static, as if my whole body had been taken over by the sensation of when your foot falls asleep. I had tears forming in my eyes, and my mind just told me to run. Without having to speak, Adam quickly took me by the arm and led us back down the hallway, through the burnt-out living room and kitchen, out the side canning room and back out into the daylight. We ran back down the mangled and tangled driveway to the car. Remembering back, I get the eerie feeling that we weren't the only 2 people in the house that day, alive or dead. A side note, the house still stands. We never called the police to report us breaking into the house and finding a giant hole in the floor. However, we drove past it about a year later, and the large tree in the front yard had all its branches removed. All the windows had been boarded shut, and after doing some research, I found out that the land it sits on is for sale. The house itself has been condemned,